Well, hello from chilly Wisconsin.
Chilly. What's not chilly is our work calendar. We are warmed up on a Monday. It's Labor Day. It's September 2nd, 2024. Welcome, everybody. Listen to the Crushing Iron Podcast, and this is episode 795.
Yep. I guess we thought we'd get it out a little early so everybody could kind of overthink it.
Exactly. There's plenty of time. You know, that's always the problem, right? Or not the problem, but the debate. It's like you put it out ahead of time, maybe too far ahead of time, and it's a risk because then there's plenty of opportunities to overthink it. And then it creates like 20 more questions. But then you post it too late, and it's like, now I'm panicking. I had a whole different strategy. But you know, the main point to get across is that we're clocking in today. It's a Monday, Labor Day. The rest of you are probably kicked up, feet, relaxing, got your robes on, got some nice wool socks, getting ready for winter, watching, college football highlights, maybe a little bit of U.S. Open highlights. You're looking outside, no cars, no kids, no school. Not us. We are snuggled in, ready to do, which is honestly one of my favorite weeks of the year. So I'm happy to be here. It is one of my favorite weekends. I'm a big tennis fan, so U.S. Open's on. So watching that, college football's been on. What I feel like every single second and every hour the last 72 hours, which has been great. And looking forward to Wisconsin. The weather has turned. Beautiful morning here and a beautiful morning there. We'll talk a lot about Ironman Wisconsin. Wisconsin 70.3 this weekend. There's quite a few of the 70.3s going on. Santa Cruz, and then you got Michigan next weekend. You got Maryland. It's September's busy. You got Chattanooga with the new bike course. But yeah, September kind of marks the start of the last part of the season and it's full speed. And again, this is one of our kind of the race that got things churning and burning for us. But yeah, happy looking forward to the race, and the weather looks, albeit spectacular, on another hand, a little bit chilly.
Yeah. Yep. It looks that was my thought too. Even though I live here, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, right.
I mean, 40s on race morning potentially.
No. It's such a listen, we've always got something to complain about. Now it's going to be too cold. Or it's too hot, now it's too cold. It's never perfect. These are, I think, outstanding conditions. We'll talk about that today, I think. And this is, yes, it's more geared towards obviously Wisconsin, 7.3 Wisconsin this weekend. We're going to be there, but this is also applicable to any kind of like, and we talked about this. We talked about the beginning of the season, talked about the end of the season, that going from cool temps to hotter, harsher temps is hard on the body, but also going from really hot temps to very cold temps can do the exact same thing. And so this is, again, while we'll reference obviously Wisconsin a ton because it's one of our big races. We'll be there this weekend. You're racing. We have a ton of athletes there, and we have a ton of experience on the course. You put out 2 awesome YouTube videos earlier this week with Coach CJ and Coach Parker, both on the podium last year, both qualified for Kona at this race. They got a lot of great feedbacks, great interviews. So please make sure you search that, and maybe you can you add those to the show notes too?
Yeah, I'll put those in the show notes. I'm also interviewing Erin Corner, who was another of our podium athletes last year. So I'll put that up. Maybe I'm interviewing her today. Maybe we'll put that up Wednesday just to give you a little something to think about. And I'll put all that in the show notes. Those are really good interviews. They both raced. All 3 of them raced at Wisconsin last year. All of them were on the podium. It's really nice to get inside the head of people who do a really nice job on the course. And it's all, it's very applicable information. It's solid information that I think everybody can gain from on any race, even though it's geared towards Wisconsin. But it's really good, full Ironman information across the board. So check them out.
Yeah, check them all out. And what I love about it is, and we all said Ellie Keene, another one of our athletes, she won her age group last year at Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
What I love about it is that it's all different age ranges. You got 2 males, you got 2 females, and top end or middle of the pack or back of the pack, they're all different perspectives, right? We all have our different experiences and ways we approach races, and everybody's training approach is different going into it. So it's a lot of, again, the point of those, and then the point of the podcast, right, is to not to cut and paste, right, but to allow you to think, right, and maybe hear a differing opinion or experience, right? Because, we all live in our own reality. So, I think that's one of the most important things when you hear these is to not, oh, how can I make that exactly the approach for me? But to maybe, engage in some critical thinking, which I think athletes overthink, right? And panic this week, paralysis by analysis. But I think critical thinking is a lot different in terms of just, running through a checklist. Am I, how prepared am I? Do I have a strategy? How should I approach it? And again, just allowing you the opportunity to get maybe a differing point of view on different parts of the course, how you might attack it. And yeah, so I mean, really, it's a week-long class, right? And this is our fall semester. We are doing all things Wisconsin this year. So yeah, those are great. And that'll be out Wednesday. But yeah, I mean, we talked about before we went live today that, I mean, I would just mention this the other day. I walked back in the house. It was, last week, and it was really hot. It's like in the low hundreds here. And you spend some time. I'll walk out back and sit out for a little bit and work until my computer like almost overheats and dies. And I'll go back inside. And when I go back inside, 70 degrees, which is what it's like what I have it out on the first floor, feels frigid. I'm like, God, I need a sweatshirt. Because I've been so hot outside, 70 feels cold, right? And we talk about this a lot, and I think this is one of the things that people have to be, really cognizant of coming into these races this weekend. We'll talk a little more in depth about, how to approach the races and especially the difference in temperature. But, people oftentimes get caught up in just the difference in going from cool, pleasant temps to warmer temps and the effect on the body, right? The hotter it is, the higher the dew point in the air, the lower there's more moisture in the air with higher dew points. You're not getting as much oxygen, and then also when it's really, really hot, right? You're exposed to the sun, higher humidity, it makes you warmer quicker. And then obviously higher temps, your body has to utilize energy to keep itself cool. Right. And so we always talk about, it's an energy game when it comes to 70.3 Ironman. It's all about energy expenditure and how you can save energy. Right. So keeping yourself cool, it's a great idea. Well, it's also very similar. Not that these are like, frigid, freezing temps, but to an extent, like a lot of this still applies when you go from, again, depending on where you live. But a lot of people had a big heat wave this last week. And you go from that and you're going to go from, 85, 90s. You're leaving the house at, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, trying to escape the quote unquote heat. And it's still, 100%, humidity, 72, 74 dew point, and you're still hot. And then you're going to go to these cooler temps, especially coming out of the water where you're already wet, right? You're going to be a little bit chilly. And then no matter how fast or slow you are on the bike, you're generating, right? There's always going to be a headwind, right? You take let's say there's 10-mile headwind. Well, if you're biking 16 miles an hour and there's no headwind, guess what? There's still a 16-mile-an-hour headwind. Like you're creating it by moving forward. So that's headwind making yourself cold. And again, same things as when it's hot. If it's a little bit cooler, and I do think that again, kind of my reference, I'm coming from being outside to going inside with the air conditioning, 40s and 50s probably aren't going to feel necessarily like 40s and 50s. They're probably going to feel a little bit cooler. One, because you haven't had any time to quote unquote adapt to the cooler temperatures, as ridiculous as that may sound, but also, you just you haven't prepared for it. Plus you're going to be wet. And so I think there's just a lot of things to take into consideration when looking to kind of have your best day, which again, a low dew point, low humidity, lower temp, those are all the perfect recipe for a great day, right? To be able to really express your fitness. And I think there's some ways that we can mention and touch on today to help give you the best shot to allow that, while also being able to capitalize and seize the moment of this quote unquote perfect weather storm we're about to have in Wisconsin, but also be prepared to, mitigate some of the outside stressors that being a little bit cooler can have an effect on the body.
Yeah, and it's good to be prepared, but the jury's still out on the weather. I don't believe this far in advance, to be honest. Like, I really don't. But I mean, I think the real thing is, you hit on some great points there, because you're always moving, you're cold out of the water, all these kind of things. And I was thinking back to 2020 when the temperature was probably a little bit colder just in general, but the rain factor was huge. I mean, the water on you all day makes you colder. There's just no doubt about it. So I mean, I remember getting to a point in the race, even that day, when I thought about, I mean, I didn't do it, thankfully, but I thought about stripping like the rain cover jacket, because I was kind of just so constricted. But I think it's one of those, you know, for me, I just keep thinking about, all right, I definitely will be a little chilly coming out of that water on that first part of that bike. So I'm just trying to, you know, really get through, you know, the warm up part of that, and out, you know, once you start climbing hills, it's just going to, you know, kind of get, you know, especially if the sun's out, you'll feel fine. But I definitely want to be prepared, you know, for the first, you know, 15 miles or so. And I'm going to be prepared, but I'm not going to go super heavy. You know what I mean? I almost like the idea of working it up a little bit versus.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I guess the main thing the point to get across, especially to start, is like, I'm not ever fearful of like core temps getting too cold in these conditions, or they're perfect. Core temps should be spot on all day. It's really the extremities, the things you worry about. And for me, the things I always kind of like to make a point to make sure you keep it warm. You know, toes, fingers, ears. If you can really just cover all three of those are the ones that make the rest of your body feel really, really, really cold. Like, right, your extremities. Like, you can go out and you know, walk, you know, in the winter. If you're walking in, it's like you walk outside in short sleeves, you're never like, God, man, my bicep, it's freezing. I mean, my bicep is freezing cold. On my forearm, my inner side of my elbow, I can't. It's always your fingers. Right? Your fingers, your toes. And that also creates stress, right? It's also about perception and really, it's not RPE, but when you have that external stress, it makes you feel colder just the same way, right? As when we have these really, really hot races and we ask athletes to carry ice in their hand, right? Because it's keeping it's an easier way to keep things cool, right? Very, very similar to you know, when it gets a little bit colder outside. You know, the things everybody has going for you, again, because I think these are fantastic, almost unbeatable conditions. Again, I know you're not kind of putting your stamp of approval on the weather yet, because agreed, it is too far to look in advance, but we're doing this on a Monday, so this is all we got. Plus, if it wasn't Madison and it was somewhere else, I wouldn't give it I wouldn't kind of, you know, be as confident as I am. But it's Madison. It's the first week of September. I think it's due there anyway to have a perfect day with some sunshine. So I'm going all in on this. You know, the big thing, and I think everything has going for you, is the swim's going to be perfect. The water is going to be warmer than the air, which again, to me, is always best case scenario, even for people who don't like swimming in wetsuits. The water temp should be borderline perfect. You know, we were joking before we went live, is like, don't be so worried about being warm that you put your wetsuit on Friday night or Saturday night and sleep in it. You know, still wait to put it on, because again, there are a lot of, and this is a huge, huge mistake that I see people make race morning, is they put their wetsuit on to stay warm. Please don't do that, because it raises your heart rate. It's so constrictive in your calves, your quads, and your chest, that it raises your heart rate. You know what doesn't? A nice C26 hoodie, right? Or any hoodie. Put on a hoodie, put on a stocking cap if you want to, put on sweatpants. Those don't raise your heart rate. There are a million ways to stay warm on race morning that don't include wrapping yourself from ankle to neck in, 5 millimeter thick neoprene. Just don't. I mean, if you're not one of our athletes, then have at it. Put on 3 wetsuits. But no, in all seriousness, that is not the way to stay warm, because you're staying warm, but you're also constricting things, and your heart rate goes up every single time you put on a wetsuit. Heart rate goes up. It's constrictive. The last thing you want to do before a big day, and especially before you get right into the water and you start moving in a rapid pace, is to constrict everything. So do not put your wetsuit on to quote unquote stay warm. Do not put it on the hotel room, meander down through the state capitol, meander down through the race site, in at the convention center, and out like, I already got my wetsuit, I'm good to go. Last minute. Even on the legs, last minute, please. Again, take something else down there. You got to take your morning clothes bag. You're going to have friends and family down there. Again, you want to stay warm because you don't want to start cool, but you're going to warm up quick. And while the water is going to be absolutely perfect, you're going to have that wetsuit on. So again, don't try to overheat yourself or get your heart rate jacked up going into the swim by putting your wetsuit on right after you roll out of bed, after you take your first deuce.
Hey, man. And by the way, if I happen to nod off during this podcast, don't take it personally. I'm drinking sleepy time tea.
What?
I know.
It's 10 o'clock in the morning.
I know. Well, I'm trying a little experiment to see if I can just keep calm.
Okay.
I feel pretty good, but I'm just saying it's just fair warning. But because you're pretty pumped on that. And I'm like the opposite polar right now. So, but yeah, no, I just think that, just for example, I think last year I did exactly that. I kind of walked down that, in the helix, they blocked that off. And at one point, it's athletes only. So you can kind of stand in there and you got a lot of room. You can take a little time and put on your wetsuit right down there because obviously it's a timing issue sometimes too. A lot of people want to get up front in that corral. And I think people get up there pretty damn early. So, I usually just kind of take my time and I end up pushing my way through a little bit, but up to the sort of front. That's kind of how I play it. But I agree with you, man. It's just like it stresses me out to be enough to be in a wetsuit. And just standing there, it feels a lot better on when I'm in the water because there's water and they're lubricating all that stuff. So, anyway, I still may take an ice bottle of water just to make sure I'm nice and cool inside that. Chill. I like to be a little cold going in that water.
You sound chill right now. When you snorting CBD oil over there?
Man, you wouldn't believe the shit I'm doing over here. It's race week, baby.
That's true.
I'm in
we're
lab.
Polar ends spectrum right now. Like you're trying to be chill and relaxed and zen, which is borderline impossible when you're a coach during taper week because everyone's panicking. And then you got me on the other hand, who's not racing but coming up to watch and spectate, and I'm jazzed. And it's hoodie weather, so
you're already standing on the park bench screaming. As far as I'm concerned, like you got your hoodie on, you're yelling at everybody to get going. I can hear it. Yeah, just trying.
Yeah, well, a lot's changed since the first one. Like I can't climb the light post, like I did the first time we were there and yell at you. From 200 meters away.
Do they grease those now, or is it gone?
What'd you say?
Did they grease those now, or is it gone? Or is
I think they grease. I don't know that I had the agility to get up there anyway.
Yeah, I tried, man.
Or I won't have the buzz either. Then they demoed my freaking bus stop. So I.
Speaking of buses.
Downtown Madison, you can do what you want. You can grease the light post. You can remove the bus stops, but I'm still coming back. So I'll be there and I'm jazzed. But I think you bring up a good point, right? Is that don't overdo it. Because again, you're going to get warm in the water. The water isn't going to be, again, the water is going to be the warmest place race morning. Okay. So the conditions are going to be fantastic. You're going to expend a lot more energy in the water, just as you always do, right? Because it's an open water swim. It's 2 loops. You're going to expend a little more energy in that second lap. If you're doing the full, there was 7.3 is just 1 loop. And then believe me, you'll get plenty warm running up the helix, right? And that's also the best transition in all of North America, maybe even the world. Running up there, hearing everybody screaming and yelling, you'll get warm, you'll get loose, right? The biggest thing I think to note is, and again, this is just to make you think. This is not to just do, right? Is to, in my opinion. Do you want to dress like you're going out to build a snowman? No, right? Because you don't want to overheat quick, and you also don't want to be so layered up that you're killing any aerodynamic advantage, right? That's one of my biggest pet peeves. You see people on like $14,000 bikes. They're sitting up so high like they could have a lunch tray in front of them, and they've got the worst position, and they've got 2 windbreakers on, flapping in the wind. Their gloves are big, and you're like, your bike is useless. It's useless right now. And they look like the Wicked Witch of the West riding a broomstick, right? The broom super arrow, and you just got stuff flailing everywhere. You don't want to overdo it, but you want to have just enough on. You want to have stuff that's compressive, right? Because it's still aerodynamic, it still matters. But you also want to have stuff you can ditch, right? And again, like we the year you finished Wisconsin, and a lot of people didn't. You did it because you chose to pace it. Also, you're super tough, but also you decided you nailed it with the dress. With the attire, it is a lot easier to ditch clothes, right? You always, in my opinion, want to be warmer than colder. You don't want to be freezing. It's hard to warm your body up, especially in a course like this where you'll go up, you'll generate a little bit of heat on the uphill, and then you'll get some cooling right going down. So a couple of things to kind of be aware of. Again, keeping your fingers warm, keeping your toes warm, keeping your ears warm. Those are the biggest things, right? So if you're debating on going road helmet, aero helmet, rock the aero helmet, in my opinion. You're keeping your ears warm. It's going to make things more aero anyway, but you've never had a better excuse to keep your ears warm than to rock an aero helmet, right? Arm warmers, fantastic option for this day. It's compressive, right? It'll probably make you a little bit more aero. Again, keeping your arms warm. Again, it's all about how you perceive things, how warm you're feeling. And then again, if you start to get quote unquote hot, especially in the full, not so much in the simple digs, you'll be off the course before it gets too hot. But especially in the full, arm warmers are very easy just to roll down and put in your back pocket, right? Or if you want to keep them on, right, because you're not too hot, it'll save you some sun exposure, right? The main thing on the arm warmers is to make sure you've got them rolled down in the right spot to where you can just slip them on like a wristband and then roll them up quick. That's a huge thing, right? Gloves are a great option, right? Very tight, full finger gloves, like, half gloves that show your fingers not doing much good because your fingers or your fingertips when it gets the most cold. I'm a huge fan of like really tight gardening gloves because they have a little bit of grip on them. This is what we recommended for people at Louisville. The one of the last years I had it when it was super cold. Garden gloves that are super tight. Again, they're still going to be aerodynamic, but you're going to keep your hands warm and they're grippy and like tacky. That's a great way. Or if you want to just kind of dig some out of the bin in your kitchen pantry, grab out some dish gloves, right? Again, these are what, $5-6 that you can easily toss away at the first aid station. Gone. Bye. See you later, right? I'm always a fan of like wearing as much stuff as you just don't care about because you'll be more apt to get rid of it. You don't want to throw on like a $180 Castelli vest and you get hot and you're like, damn it, I just don't want to get rid of this. So you tie it around your waist, right? Like Superman with the cape, and because you don't want to get rid of it, right? Or a jacket or a windbreaker, like, that's expensive. You don't want to get rid of it. So you just keep it on. Again, you want to be able to take advantage of the temperature, but you don't want to succumb to it because it's too chilly, but you don't want to give anything back because it's too hot. I think the toe warmers are almost the most important piece of this, besides maybe the fingers, is keeping those piggies warm. You might want some toe covers. You could go one if you want to be fashionable, but always go two. Keep the toes warm, and take care of this. But again, those are all things you can already have. Toe covers already on your shoes. Gloves, super easy to get on. Arm warmers should be on in 10 to 15 seconds if you've rolled them down the correct way and on your way, right? These are all things you can get rid of because as soon as you start to get warm, ditch them. And then the last piece is the C26 Special, which is the 2 to 3 plastic grocery bags. This is a no-brainer for me on both the 70.3 and the full. Take 2 to 3 plastic grocery bags that everybody has at least 243 in their pantry. You never know when you're going to need 200 plus plastic grocery bags. We don't want to trash. We don't want to recycle them. We just want to save them for a rainy day. Well, guess what? It's not going to rain, but this is your day. You want to grab those. You want to shape them up into like a shape of a rectangle. And as soon as you get out of the swim, you unzip your top, you place it over your chest, and you zip right up. No aerodynamic disadvantage. It keeps your core warm because you got that plastic over it. And you've got, it also serves as a windbreaker going down the hills that both courses have. This is the exact same thing you see the riders do in the Tour de France when they, back in the old school days, like now they just put on vests to go down the hill. But back in the day, they would shove entire newspapers down the front of their jersey as they go down these descents because it keeps them, the core temp warm and keeps the wind off their chest. To me, that's a no-brainer. Again, it's a throwaway. Zip it down at an aid station, grab it, toss it. Please, however, make sure. I think I made this mistake the year that you and I did Wisconsin for the very first time. I wore the bags, and I came to the first, I think it was special needs. I don't think I got too far to the right when I ditched them, and I think it like whipped up behind me and like hit some dude in the aero shield that was behind me. So please don't, you don't want to toss them up like a parachute and have them like, wrap somebody around the helmet so they can't see. So make sure you get to the side, crumple them up, put them down. But to me, those are all great options, especially the bags and the finger and the gloves, to keep yourself pleasant, right? And shielded from getting too cold. at least for the first, quarter, first half of both the rides on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, that's all good. In the spirit too of never believe how you feel in the course of an Ironman, good or bad, because it's going to change. Make sure you're done with those bags before you throw them, because that's happened to me too. I usually just will, how they on Tour de France, a lot of times they'll unzip climbing and then they'll zip up when they hit the descent. I kind of do at some point I'll do that with the bags too. I'll just kind of jam them down in my kit a little bit and unzip, and then if I need them again, I'll just take them. But I want to make sure I'm done with them, because you might feel like you're ready, but then you might hit some long downhills that get a little chilly, and the next thing you know, bam. So for me, it's an easy thing to do. Just kind of shove them down a little bit and keep them around until you're sure you don't need them, because once you take them out, there's a big, difference. You can tell. In fact, I almost use those things, I think almost in every race, to be honest. I mean, like, unless it's going to be 100 degrees, but like if it's 60s coming out of the water, I usually put those in just because. And frankly, it's not bad to have a little warmer core for a while. And, that first, we used to ride out the trace all the time, and I probably should have used bags out there, because that first, 10, 15 miles can feel a little nippy, or maybe not 10, 15.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, especially when you're wet, I just always kind of have a habit of putting them in, and then if I don't need them, I'll just get rid of them or stick them in my back pocket or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely better to have them. And again, like, don't go out to REI or the local Trek store or whatever it is and buy 150, cycling shell. Just use some plastic grocery bags. And again, like you said, make sure you don't need them anymore. Because I remember this, it wasn't cycling, but when I did the Lookout Mountain Trail race in Chattanooga, it's a December race, I was wearing a jacket, and I needed it all morning. It was cold. Again, this is like 2 weeks before December. And then I got to the very end where there was you're basically hiking for 1.5 miles straight up. And I was getting so hot because I wasn't generating any speed, right? Because I was walking and hiking. Right. So I wasn't generating any wind, right, to cool myself off. And my core temp was rising. I was going slower, but I was putting out a lot of effort. So with my core temp, so I ditched my jacket, and then I almost just tossed it, or I think I wrapped it around my waist because I was like, maybe I might need this again. As soon as I got to the top, then it was 2 miles slightly downhill. I made it about 200 meters, and I was absolutely freezing. Because I didn't have the wind to do the evaporative cooling of all the sweat. So I get to the top, again, it's December, it's in the, mid to low 30s. I get to the top, I'm soaking wet. And then, again, no evaporative cooling, no wind to dry it off. My core temp was high. And then all of a sudden I'm going to be running downhill at a higher speed. And all it was doing was, instead of drying things off, it was making my skin cold. And I put it on, and for the next 3 to 4 months, I was absolutely freezing. Absolutely freezing. And so I think you bring up such a great point in make sure you're ready to be done with it. And it's because, to me, especially with the bags, I know one of the, I think Ironman Arizona, the very first, this is 14 years ago, one of the very first I ever used them in, I remember thinking at mile 70, 80, I was like, I can probably be done with these, but they're not really making me hot. Right? I could get rid of them, but I might still need them. And so always ask yourself, am I gonna regret it, or am I pretty much fine without it? Because again, you've been training in, more than likely 75, 85, 95 degree heat. It's not like a couple of grocery bags in the 50s to 60s to even low 70s that's going to take you. It's going to take you anywhere close to out of your game.
Yeah.
The other thing, and I think it has to be mentioned, is fluid intake, sodium intake. The way that you've been training, make sure that is dialed in on race day, because your sodium needs, your hydration needs, not your caloric needs, right? But your sodium and your hydration needs aren't going to be exactly the same on race day, right? Calories, you're still going to need as many calories to compensate for the calories you're burning, but you probably aren't going to need tons and tons of sodium like you may have been using, and you might not need nearly as much water as you have been using. Again, I'm never really a fan of just carrying a bottle or two of just plain water on board. I think water takes up too much precious real estate in your gut already. I think it needs to have something in it. Having said that, I think maybe one bottle or grabbing some from the aid stations is great, because if you do feel like you get like, a little bit of a bloated gut because you've taken in too much, which is going to be something that happens in the 70.3 and full because of the conditions, because of people have been training in. You also don't want your only option to quench your thirst to be maybe a condensed bottle of Infinite or Scratch or a Martin on your down tube, right? So you got to kind of toe that line. And I think, again, like, you just have to be very aware of how much am I taking in, and is it too much? And then also understand and realize the signs of things being too much. And again, something you practice, you can slow things down a little bit if you feel great, but I wouldn't make any drastic decisions, especially in the middle of the race, except for just listening to your body. Some people, it's great if they can just drink to thirst. Other people, I never understand the mileage thing. Some people are like, yeah, I would drink every 5 miles. So yeah, but 5 miles could be 16, 17 minutes with a bunch of downhills, or 5 miles could be 30 minutes with a bunch of uphills, right? So make it a time thing. Don't make it a distance thing. Make it a time thing, like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is. Make an alert that goes off just as a reminder to drink. It's not a forced feed, right? But it's a reminder to drink. And again, I think the best opportunity of Saturday and Sunday, the best opportunity lies in your ability to run, because the running conditions are going to be absolutely perfection. You've got to be able to get off the bike, to get out of the water, right? Feeling fresh, get off the bike, feeling like you spend as little energy as possible, ready to totally rip off the run. Exact same as any other race, but even more important when you truly have the opportunity to see that fitness. And we'll talk a little bit more on the run in just a second.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I just with these conditions, if it is a little cooler out there, yeah, it's always a tough one, man, because I think if your body's trying to stay warm, and I've learned this many times in these cold races, the more you drink, the more you're going to be peeing. So it's like getting rid of shit. So it's a slippery slope, I think, too. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think you got to really also keep an eye on, because it is going to feel so. I mean, like your effort. It's the old. If you think you're going too fast, you probably are. If you think you're going right, you're probably just going a little too hard, and that kind of thing. I think it's just going to have to be really pay attention to that even almost more, because you're probably going to feel a hell of a lot better than you think. And by the time you get in that second loop, man, it's just going to grind on you. So beware, take the speed, take that, what you got, but don't be just hammering it because you feel so good at mile 35 or 40 out there. I think I think you just got to be really aware. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, perfect conditions, it's going to be super fast race, whatever. It could be, for people to handle it right, but otherwise it's still an Ironman. I mean, you can't just roll out the helmets or the balls and just go knock it out quick. It's still going to be legit.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember this happened to because it's better to be a little bit warmer than it is to be cold. And I've seen this happen with athletes before. I think it's called like cold diuresis, where your kidneys make your body expel water because more blood flow comes from your skin to like your core organs, and your to make sure that you're actually increases your blood pressure, and it makes your body produce more urine. So you're peeing more. So you're becoming a little bit more dehydrated, even though it's cold, but it's because you let your extremities become so cold that now you're trying to keep everything else warm. And again, expending energy, but also expelling fluid. And I've seen this happen to athletes before. Like this has been 5 or 6 years ago. I had an athlete ended up in the top 10 overall, but she was, I think, second. And she could not stop peeing on the run. Couldn't stop. Every 2 to 3 miles, peeing. So she was having trouble staying warm, but two, she was having trouble keeping enough fluids in because she let herself get too cold coming off the bike. Again, same thing can happen in the run. You see this happen with a special, like, I don't think you're going to see it happen in that like 2:30 to 7 o'clock window. at Wisconsin for the full, but after 7 o'clock, you're going to see people get cold on the run. And there's a couple things to think about on the run that I think everyone has to be aware of is that, we talk a lot about seasonal EPO and the effect that, lower dew point, lower humidity, lower temperatures, you feel awesome. And when you have athletes in the season and they go from a type of training and they keep that same type of training in the weather's cooler, well, you're going to go from running, maybe 9-minute miles to 15-minute miles for the same time, right? So you're moving faster. You create a little more muscle damage because you're running faster. The force, the impact of the ground and your stride hitting the pavement causes a little more muscle damage, a couple more micro tears than it would at the 9-minute range. Cardio, you feel fine, but legs kind of like get more fatigued and a little more sore. That's because your body's hasn't been used to that extra pounding, that higher cadence, and that extra force because of the warm weather. You're going to want to come off the bike flying. Half, I wouldn't even think about it. Run your race. Use the conditions and feel yourself, right? You should be able to running out. And again, that's the thing is like, don't go in the half. Don't check yourself on the pace based on what you've been running in 95-degree heat. It might be 68 when you get off the bike. You better burn, baby, burn. Like this is the time to let it rip. It's not the time to go, oh, well, the last few runs that I've done, at 95 degrees, I've been at, a 10:36 pace. This is too fast. Well, guess what? At mile 8 or 9, you're going to realize that you should have picked up the pace a lot earlier. On the full, however, you're going to want to check yourself. You're going to want to check yourself those first 2 to 4 miles. You're going to feel great. The weather's going to be awesome, and you're going to want to run a little bit harder. But again, from a muscle damage standpoint, that is going to catch up with you at mile 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, because on the, it's the opposite of the half, right? The full it's not how fast you go, it's how little you slow down. So the more impact and heavy fatigue you have on the legs, the quicker you are going to slow down. Again, being cold might not be an issue for those getting off the bike in that 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock range, especially if you're planning on running at a decent clip, right? The majority of the marathon, because you're creating you're increasing your core temp, your energy is creating higher temperatures. If you're going to be walking, or you see yourself walking some of the back half of the marathon, the sun goes down, you are going to get cold. You need to have an option to stay warm, because once you get too chilly, again, it's not like you can say at mile 18, 19 when you're roasted, your legs are done, you're sweating a little bit, your heart rate's lower. You can't just be like, oh, you know what? I think I'll run a little bit of zone 3 right now to raise my core temp. You can't move your legs anymore. So what you need is a tire, right? You need gear to help keep yourself warm. So maybe have something in the special needs, at the halfway point, that's going to help keep you warm, whatever that may look like for you. And again, this is totally different for every athlete. It's more about your finishing time than it is, your adaptation to heat or cold. It's just the temperatures you're going to be exposed to, because it'll probably be, again, from athletes finishing in that like 4 to 6 o'clock window, you're probably looking at a 15 to 20 degree difference in what it's going to feel like at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and what's going to feel like at 11 p.m. Right? So you got to have these options. You got to have these opportunities. I don't know if they still do chicken broth and soup and stuff like that, but that should be the go-to for a lot of people to help keep their core temp warm.
Yeah, I think they do. I feel like I've seen it the last couple of years in my dark parade along
dark hours.
Yeah, the lake out there on the other side of Mendota.
Don't grab any sleepy time tea while you're out there. That's the last thing you need on race day.
I know. Well, I mean, there's been many Ironman where I've just felt like falling asleep. I mean, and it's that blood pressure drop, heart rate's down, can't get it going. So, and I think I noticed looking at the map the other day, they are taking out the, what is it, quote unquote, hilly section of the run.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like.
Yeah, right. And tell us more about that.
Well, yeah, at first I was like, what? I mean, because it's just a cool little section, first of all, and it's a good tester. Mm-hmm. It's like halfway through the loop. It's a nice, keep you honest kind of moment. It's a good excuse to walk, whatever you want to call it. But now they seems like they've taken it out, and I've kind of confirmed. I mean, it's not officially confirmed, but on the map, it's certainly out of there. And I've talked to several other people in the know. I'm not going to hang them out, but I heard that maybe it has something to do with bus routes, that they want these streets open or something like that. So, you know, yeah. And it's not like, no, I mean, like that street, I don't know how many buses go down there, but whatever. I'm sure they go down State Street too. So I don't quite understand that, but who knows? But I did hear that what the part they put in place of it to make up some mileage or whatever has a little has some pinchers in it. There might be some things to work out in there. So just beware. It does look like the run profile map has changed, the elevation. So it does look like it's not as quite as hilly. It wasn't really that hilly anyway, but it was a fair course, I always thought, you know. So
is the stadium still in there? Everybody loves the good jump to the stadium.
Yeah, stadium's still in. Stadium's still in. You come out of the stadium, and I think instead of the normal route out to that 7-Eleven, don't quote me on this shit. I can't read those maps, but it looks like you kind of go over that street instead, and you do a little something over there, and then you go towards the bike path. We used to go right and then kind of go towards that hilly section, but now they're taking it into that area, and they're going left out that turnaround that goes way into the park, and it was usually right at the end, and it was dark and night. I wonder if they're doing that to get people out of the dark earlier or whatever, but it looks like you go left first instead. But again, don't quote me on this. I think that's kind of how it's looking.
Read the athlete guide.
Yeah, read the athlete guide. Look at the maps and see if you can read it, because they don't have half the streets on there. It's impossible. So it is what it is. You just go out and handle it the same.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're a Badger guy, but I feel about the run through the stadium just like I feel about the National Forest in Chattanooga and Churchill Downs at the old Louisville. Just take it out. It's a speed killer. Total speed killer. First of all, you don't see the Churchill Downs in Louisville anyway. You don't pay attention to much or see much, you know, National Park forestry and the Chattanooga bike. And the jaunt to the stadium, here's what I would suggest. Make it optional. Here's a little out and back where you can keep your speed on the road, or you can take a left in the stadium, run around the turf, and then come back out. It's your option. If you're a football person and you love it and it's a cool experience, have at it. Well, but it shouldn't be mandatory.
Luke Fickle just put in some new heated turf up there, so maybe the turf will be nice and warm for your feet.
That could be an email from you. It's like, hey, listen, do you want to find favor with the athletes? It's going to be a little bit cool. You
could crank it up and turn it into a little sauna.
Sauna turn the heat up, baby, and people will be loving it in there. They might not leave.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, you don't want to take out a great opportunity to see the home field of a mediocre college football franchise. Jesus, man. What has happened?
It'd be a lot different if they were running inside of the basketball arena.
No, that'd be cool. Do some
that would be cool.
Repeats.
Probably do a lot of slipping and sliding on that hardwood though, and nobody needs that. Triathletes have enough time not tripping on curbs, much less slipping on hardwood.
Yeah. Should I put on turf shoes to run out there? You know, switch off, or maybe trail shoes for that little gravel patch. You know, you got to be ready.
You got it. Listen. You got to be ready. And I will say, we can close it out unless you got anything more to say about the course, but that gravel part is one of the most beautiful but isolating and frustrating parts of that entire course. I'll never forget the first year that I did it, having a pretty good day, hit on the course, you know, school just started. I'm running, and I think I was in like the high 7. I was feeling really good. And that weather the first year we did it was absolutely perfect. And I'm cruising along, feeling good, and I hear these footsteps behind me. And I'm thinking, man, somebody is flying. Here come these two, whatever, probably freshman, sophomore, college chicks dressed up in Lululemon, just flying by me like I'm an old dude standing still.
Oh, yeah.
Just out. Nothing makes you feel slower. I'm like, I am. And they're just chatting away, breathing through their nose. I was like, this is just great. And then it is a little bit lonely out there. But it's one of my favorite, it's also one of my favorite parts of the course because I love running by the water. You're at the backside of campus. You got that out and back, and I've probably run it either during the race or not in the race, probably 20 times. So it's a cool part, but yeah, don't be shocked because that little gravel path is not closed to just runners. that are racing, you'll probably get, depending on what time of day you're coming through, you'll probably get crushed by some, new college kid who's probably ran 6 times in her life out there just going out for a midday jog.
Yeah, it's funny because if I would have been in college there, that Ironman was there, that would have been something we would have concocted. We'd have made fake bibs and shit and just went out there and ran, like sprinted by people all day just to annihilate them and demoralize them. But the good news is with that.
No, I was going to say, if they don't do this anymore, which is again a total failure, like the master, like if they still put the ages on people's calves, that would be one of the most fun things to do on race day, is to just kind of have like a removable and reattachable number for your calf. And you're sitting in the grass and you see somebody go by with like, a 34 or a 33 age on their calf. What do? Draw a little 32 on your calf and just fucking blow by them.
Yeah.
And see what happens, because it's somebody in their age group. And then do it for about a half a mile and peel off, come back to your spot. And you see a female, age 51 coming through, and your partner is like, yeah, well, I think I'll take the females, you take the males, and just jot down numbers and blow past and see people's reaction based on getting past. But you don't got a bib, you're wearing like, t-shirt and shorts, because like, you're just a relay. Or are you a relay? Or did you change? Or did you do a full change? And just to watch like the mental anguish people would go through on the first part of their run.
Yeah, the practical jokes. Jim and I used to go into the lobby when we were spectating, and we'd get like a wristband that looked like a race wristband and just get schnockered the night before in front of everybody. You racing more? Oh yeah, we're just having a little fun.
Oh,
here. The good news about that gravel patch. So according to my amateuristic map guide interpretation, it seems like that normally you'd have like a 10K when you hit that spot, and I think now it's just a little bit over a mile or so, and then you're turning back to finish. So, because when you left there, you'd go back down the path and you go way out to that out and back, which is about a mile and a half or something like that. So I think that you do that first, and then you end up on the gravel, and then you turn left and go back to pay dirt.
Ooh.
So that's the one upside, is that when you hit the gravel, you're getting pretty close.
Oh, so it's reverse.
Yeah, somehow. But again, please don't write this in stone, because
please don't quote him on that.
That's what it seems.
Read the athlete guide, go to the pre-race briefing, do your own homework, and please don't post in Facebook groups things you could find out in the athlete guide, because then you only have yourself to blame.
Yeah.
Just take a hot minute, read through it, right? Skip the parts that don't matter, find out what you need to hear, go to the pre-race briefing, whatever, be done. That was one of the things I appreciated back during COVID times, was that they would do the race briefing and then they'd email it out. Like, please keep doing that. That was fantastic. There was nothing better than just being able to watch it and fast forward on your computer without having to go and sit through a nauseating hour and 10 minutes of 3 minutes. It's really what you need, and then you got to worry about the questions at the end, and they all come from people who haven't read the athlete guide. Go Ironman, go back to doing that.
Yeah, and you're sitting there and you catching the eye of your nemesis down the bleachers and kind of eyeing each other up. It's a great time to make friends, isn't it? That athlete.
For sure. I mean, just stroll on down there with your Oakleys on that are like the size of that make blue blockers look like readers. And then
your flat bill.
It's like, have you seen those now? I'm like, are those sunglasses or is that an arrow helmet shield? I can't tell. I don't know. That's like the new trend. So you got those, and to me, it doesn't, like, I don't know what came first, the flat bill hat or the Oakleys that are that big, because you can't fit the Oakleys underneath a hat with the curved bill because they're so freaking big. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what came first. Either the flat bill hat came first, and now you got more real estate for these gigantic glasses, or the glasses came first and you ran out of room for a curved bill, and therefore you got the flat bill. So yeah, really all you need to do to make friends on race day or on these athlete briefings in the Expo is, check one, Ironman jacket, pullover, or anything that shows that you've done one before.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this isn't your first time, so check that off the list. Oakley's, again, that make blue blockers look like readers, check. And then any flat bill with like that's an ambassador flat bill, like a Zoot flat bill or a Flow Cycling flat bill, anything that screams, I could be a pro because I'm dressed like one, but I'm not. I'm not. So if you wear those, listen, you might be grabbed in for like an interview, but that to me, that is and have like some Beats by Dre headphones around your neck. To me, nothing will get you more friends than having that kind of ensemble walking down to the expo.
Maybe a swim parka.
It's right. It's a swim park. That's right. And bring your bands. Yeah, bring your bands down. Like these are some surefire ways.
How to dress to make friends.
Have your timing chip on the day before when you're walking around. Another great way to meet people. There's a lot of surefire ways to chum up conversation. Like that's one of my favorite things. I'm like, you're racing on Sunday. I'm like, why do you have a timing chip on Saturday walking around? Are you afraid you're going to lose it? Like to me, that's a great way to lose it. And then you have like somebody, because all it does is like make people ask questions. Should I already have mine on? God, where is mine? Like I think there's a lot of things you can do to really mess with people.
Having, from somebody who has forgotten their timing chip and gone to the swim start, I kind of can get behind that a little bit. I'm like, oh, geez, I put it on right when they give it to me. It's like, and then I take it off and I put it right by my watch, just to make sure, because I think I left it in my backpack one year and I'm like, oh no. And they have extras, but you got to really go through the rigmarole to get them.
Yeah. The surefire way that I've always made sure I had my timing chip was the night before. I take my Garmin watch and I go ahead and clasp it together so it's a circle, and then I take my timing chip and the Velcro and connect it like links of a chain. Because if you're not gonna forget one thing in race morning, it's your watch, because it's on your wrist. So this way, you grab your watch. First thing you do, put on your timing chip.
Yeah, that's good. And can I just say, due to my history of thinking I'm registered and not being registered back at Chattanooga 70.3, which has left a minor paranoia and scar in me.
I bet it has.
And this year when I thought Glenn had registered me for the sprint and I showed up and I wasn't on the list, can I tell you how relieved I was to see my name in the tracker? I mean, it's like, it can't be overemphasized how, because I had gotten a couple emails. I checked my profile. It said my next race is Ironman Wisconsin. I had all that in there, but seeing it in the tracker really gave me a sigh of relief.
Are you still going to get a little bit like last minute anxiety when you walk up to register and you give the ID and like your QR code just to hear it clink through and let them let you go in and get your race bib and pack it?
100%, man. You just gave me a little anxiety with that QR code thing. I don't even know. I'll have to look for that. I know. There's ways to do it. It makes sense, but I just, email, tech, it all overwhelms me a little bit sometimes.
I hear you, man. Well, keep pounding the old sleepy time tea, and things will be just fine, man.
Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything is fine. I'm grateful.
Well, we are
grateful.
We're pumped. We're excited. We're looking forward to seeing everybody in Wisconsin. So if you see anybody wearing C26 gear, make sure you say hello. We'll be all over the course both days. So looking forward to seeing everybody in one of our favorite towns and races. You got any final words before your big send off in the race this weekend?
No. I mean, dare I say, is it Saturday afternoon? I'll be in the lobby of the premier Best Western Hotel on the square with some gear. If people want to buy some stuff.
Park.
In on the park, Best Western Premier, whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah, they've got
the lobby right around 4 o'clock. I'll have a little C26 gear if that's something that you want to do.
Yeah, and I mean, hell, you might need it for just to stay warm on race day. So come by and see us. It's right on the square. It's our de facto host hotel. So yeah, come by and see us.
Say hi. Meet some of our great athletes. Whatever.
Yeah.
I think I'll bring some beanies.
I'm telling you, dude. There's a market for those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just run to Costco and have your mom knit a few patches on there.
I will.
Yeah, she could do that for sure. All right. Well, you guys have a great rest of your Labor Day. As always, we love you guys. We appreciate you. Go to our website, c26triathlon.com, and it's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. Not this week, but next week. If you need anything from Mike, he's available. Mike at c26triathlon.com. If you need anything from me, I'm available. Robbie at c26triathlon.com.
All right, man. Well, I'll see you in a few days.
See you Friday.
All right. Take it easy.
See you, dude.